One of my favorite leadership authors and speakers, Simon Sinek, says, "Be the leader you wish you had." And that is something I think about often when I think about our leadership development programs here at UC Davis Continuing Professional Education. We hope to develop leaders to be the leader that they wish that they had. And so welcome. We're so happy that you're here on this beautiful March morning, early March morning for our leadership programs information session. My name is Jennifer Keller. I'm the Associate Director for the Management and Leadership Programs here for UC Davis Continuing Professional Education. And I'd like to introduce, or have her introduce herself, Bridget Zaragoza. Welcome, Bridget. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Bridget Zaragoza. I'm the program specialist for all of our open enrollment leadership courses. So my information is there. If you have any questions regarding any of our programs, please reach out to me, and I'm here to answer all your questions.
Thank you, Bridget. Bridget's amazing. She is the go-to for all questions. And speaking of that, she will be monitoring the Q&A throughout this entire session. There's a Q&A button for in the Zoom, so feel free at any point to enter a question, and Bridget will respond, or we'll wait to save it for a live answer. So thanks, Bridget. We also have joining us, who will introduce herself in a little bit, Delisha Gordon-Brown. She's one of our alumni from our Supervisory Skills program. She's a financial services manager here at UC Davis, and we're gonna get a chance to interview her in a little bit, so we'll hold off and she'll introduce herself then, but we're really excited to have Delisha on the call with us as well. So let's get started with our agenda. Here's what we're gonna talk about. We already checked off number 1 and welcomed you. We're going to talk about our supervisory skills series, our management development program. Those 2 programs we're going to talk about in a little more detail. And then we have a program, or a course, I should say, coming in summer that I'm just going to give you a quick preview to. And then, of course, your questions. That's really what this is about. So at any time, if you have a question, please, like I said, use the Q&A box, and Bridget will answer that either live right then, or we'll save it. There's a couple points we have throughout the Zoom where we'll pause for questions as well. So with that, let's get started. We're going to start with a poll, and Bridget's going to launch that for us. How many years of supervision or management experience do you have? 0, you want to step into supervision, 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, or over 10 years. So go ahead and click your answer there. That gives us a sense of who's on the call. What are we seeing, Bridget?
We got quite a few over 10 years.
Oh, wow, great.
1 to 3. Actually, a lot of all of them. So
okay, that's great. So we have a good mix, it sounds like. So we're happy to have you. Oh yeah, that's a great mix. Yeah. Well, you are in the right place, because you're going to learn a little bit more about our programs and which one might be a fit for you. So thanks for taking that poll. So just want to briefly, here's our kind of breadth of the programs that we offer. I want to briefly mention our executive leadership program. We had an in-depth information session for that back in January. And that is recorded online if you're interested. That would probably be mostly for those of you who have over 10 years of experience. If after this you find, oh, I was looking for something a little more intensive or higher level, that might apply to you. And so we're not going to talk in detail about that today. I will say the enrollment deadline for that program is coming up at March 10th. And like I said, you can view the information session on our website, or please reach out to Bridget and she can give you any detailed information on that program. Most of today is going to be spent on our supervisory skills. It's Series 2 in the spring, so we'll talk a little bit about the difference between Series 2 and Series 1. Starting April 9th through May 7th, we're going to dive deep into each of those courses. We have morning and afternoon sections. Those are half-day classes, so it's really flexible for you to meet your needs. We're going to talk in detail about our management development program, which is 3 sessions in May. And then finally, I'm going to briefly just mention the summer program, because we have a dedicated information session for that as well. If it piques your interest, we'd encourage you to register for that information session. So those are the programs we're going to talk about today. Let's start with our supervisory skills series. So our Supervisory Skills Series 2, as I mentioned, is our spring offering of the series. The question often comes up, so I'll address it now. Do I have to, or do I need to have taken Series 1 first? No, you do not. They can be taken Series 2 first. They're independent half-day courses. So when you look at these 5 topics that are listed here, I'm going to give you a brief overview of each of those and feature the instructors. But these courses can be taken individually. So if you're looking at this and you said, yeah, I really just need a class on team building. I'm going to take that class, developing your team. Or, oh gosh, the generations, yep, definitely need that one. You could take the team and the generations. If you look at and you say, oh yeah, all 5 of these, I definitely need, especially after we get into detail, then you can register for the whole series and you will save money on that. So let's dive into each of the courses. The series starts off with Lisa Montanaro and juggling multiple priorities. And so this is a great course on time management. But what I love about Lisa's course and what people talk about in terms of what they take away are all the tools that she offers. So she gives you strategies and then she gives you practical tools. And what Lisa does, what I love about it also is she recognizes that everybody has a different style. So she offers a different variety. Some are online tools and resources that she has. Some are paper-based. So she doesn't have just sort of one method that she says, okay, this is how you manage your time. And so there's really a lot of options and she gives you a lot of resources for that. So that's a great start to the series with Lisa. The second session is taught by Diane Davidson on developing your team. And Diane uses this really great assessment in this course that it's an online assessment that you would take on your learning style. And so you take the assessment before you come to the course and you really learn about how you best learn. And then what does that mean in terms of how you interact with your team and how you build your team and develop your team. And even though they may not have taken the official assessment, usually you can get sort of a sense after the class on what potential style each of your team members might be, and then how do you use that to help build and develop your team. So that's the second class. And then we get into a class called Solutions Focused Thinking, taught by Leslie Bosserman. This is a really great class in kind of perspective. And sometimes we get in this perspective of, especially when we're thinking about problem solving, of how can we step outside and really think of various solutions. And so you can see one of the bullets there says deepen curiosity through appreciative inquiry. So she goes a little bit into appreciative inquiry and how can you like be curious and what can you do to be creative in when there's a solution to a problem at hand at work. The fourth class is taught by me. And it's leading a cross-generational workforce. And so we really get into, of course, the characteristics of the different generations, but one of the things I really believe we need more of is empathy. And so I approach it in a sense of let's like work on our empathy for some of the generations. And this class, what you do is you actually bring a problem or a challenge that you're having with a certain generation. And we work through that through the class. It's posted around the room and we actually kind of work through that challenge so that at the end you have a potential solution or approach of how you might work out that challenge. And then we wrap up the series with coaching employees. Coaching is becoming more and more popular as a management style, and there's a lot of research around it that the coach approach or using coaching questions, powerful questions, is really important in how you're managing people and how you can help develop critical thinking in your employees. And so Dawn walks through a model, and there's a lot of practice in this class of how to coach. And then she talks about when not to. When is it that you really need your traditional performance management process? So she walks through strategies around that. And that concludes our supervisory skills program. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring Delisha on, and Bridget's activating her. Hi, Delisha.
Hi, everybody.
Delisha, you want to just take a quick minute and introduce yourself, what you do,
Definitely.
who you are?
Sure. My name is Delisha Gordon-Brown. I am currently the Financial Services Manager here at the University of Davis, continuing and professional education. I've been on campus for about 8 years now, 2 years supervising career staff and about 5 years supervising up to about 45 students. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Great, thank you. So we have a few questions for Delisha, and then please feel free to enter any questions that you might have for her in the Q&A. And once we're done with Delisha, we'll have some time for questions, but let's go and get started. So Delisha, reflecting back on the program, what still stands out to you?
So definitely with both Series 1 and Series 2, I think what stands out the most are the instructors. The instructors that are selected are very engaging. They're very knowledgeable. They're experts in their field. And they would share personal stories about their own experience. So it kind of makes you feel very not alone, like the problems you have are definitely the problems that others have. So they struggle with the same goals as being a leader. And while I think every session is definitely helpful, I think for me, developing your team and coaching employees still sticks with me, those 2 sessions particularly. And it's because I use them most in my day-to-day supervising of my team and stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. And thank you for bringing up the instructors and acknowledging that, because that is something we really pride ourselves on as the brand of UC Davis, kind of hiring those instructors that have the theory, but also the practical tools. So
practical tools, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, good. I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, so how you mentioned the coaching and the developing team is stuck with you. So how did you use the content to help you in your job?
Oh, I still use it.
Yeah, good.
The packets, the information packets that are put together have the content that the presenter or the instructors are presenting as well. And there's a lot of useful tools in there, a lot of practical tools. I actually have a team that hopefully they can't hear me. I refer to as retirement age. And so often at times it's very difficult to find ways to motivate them to try new things, especially when they have, 1 foot out the door. And there are actually really great tools in the Coaching Your Team and Developing Your Team and Motivating Your Team series or sessions that provide a lot of that information, encouraging them and motivating them. And then there's actually another one of my favorite sessions was the communication skills. I learned a lot about myself and the communication skills, and it's actually really helped me to focus on listening better. Kind of don't realize all the time that, we have a problem where we interrupt people often. So I developed a lot of my listening skills, and it's actually helped me develop my team as well, because they have different communication styles. And so we can work together, and I can actually present to them what I learned at these sessions as well.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. And so Delisha is referencing the communication skills. Delisha was fortunate to take both series
Yes.
1 and 2. And so thank you for promoting series 1. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But also the listening is really in the coaching as well. And how do you really kind of ask more questions and be a better listener? So I'm so glad. I have found that for myself too. I thought I was a good listener, and then I realized, no, I interrupt.
I do that.
Yeah, I feel like I have something to say.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and then our last question for you are kind of, what are 2 to 3 things you learned about yourself after taking the program?
Okay, so I'll reference what Jennifer had said earlier about the generational series, the cross-generational series. I learned a lot. It's actually my favorite course of the series, not just because you teach it.
Oh.
But, so I definitely learned that while I am born in the Generation X generation, I have a lot of attributes that are in the past generations and the future. And really, it's pretty eye-opening because it does teach you compassion and understanding for a lot of other people. And this is very personal. It actually helps me to even filter myself about stereotypes about the generations, not just in my work life, but in my personal life as well. Often at times you get stuck in those, oh, millennials this, and it's really not the case, because sometimes that's me. So that's definitely one of the first things I remember and I realize about myself. But it's definitely a great class, and you played wonderful music during that too.
I forgot about that. Oh yeah.
And also I've learned a lot about managing through change. But more important, I learned that I'm never going to stop learning how to be a supervisor and a better leader. We talk a lot about change in leadership, you know, when change is imposed on you as opposed to you actually making the change. New people come into roles. There's always a change with that. And because things are constantly changing, we're never going to stop learning. We're always going to have to learn how to adjust our communication style to the next person, or understand their communication, understand how to coach them, what, you know, their abilities and strengths are and stuff like that. So I definitely know that I learned that I'm not ever going to stop learning how to be a better leader.
Oh, Delisha, I love that.
And then also, I learned that we need to, as supervisors and leaders, even higher up leaders, need to give ourselves a little bit of credit. We're doing a good job already. And especially if you're interested in the series, you're a step ahead of the game. Often at times leaders are put into roles without that supervisor experience. How do we even treat people? How do we motivate people? Let's just change everything. So I think we need to give ourselves as individuals a lot of credit for being interested in developing our skills and learning new techniques to help us so that we can be better. And it instills a lot of confidence, you know, in me personally, that I have a future as a supervisor, as a leader, you know, and I'm doing a good job at it. So.
Yeah, yes, you are. And thank you for saying that like for the people that are on here, that they're kind of already a step ahead of the game in terms of like wanting to develop themselves. And I would agree 100% with that sentiment. So thank you for those of you who are on for taking the time to even learn about these programs. And Delisha, thank you so much for your authenticity. I just love that about you. You are truly an authentic leader, and that just shined through in what you just shared. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, thank you for inviting me out. I'm happy to answer any questions or whatever you guys need.
Yes. So Bridget, we're going to pause for a second and allow anyone, if there's any questions for Delisha specifically, go ahead and use the Q&A, or if any questions have come up, Bridget, so far.
No questions yet.
No questions yet. Okay, we're going to pause in a minute again. But thank you, Delisha. And Delisha will be on with us. If anything comes up, she'll be on to the end. So feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you, guys. I'll be here. Just let me know when you need me.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so Bridget, you want to review these details?
Yes, so for our session 2, which is starting April 9th through May 7th, we have our morning and afternoon sessions. You can take them from 8:30 to 12:30 or 1 to 5. Our topics, as mentioned, were juggling multiple priorities, developing your team, solutions-focused thinking, leading a cross-generational team, and coaching employees. In session 1, which is held in the fall, this year it will be September 23rd through October 21st. Same thing, morning and afternoon sessions. We have our principles of supervision and management, building a motivated workplace, and a new course that has been added because this skill is very valuable. Has been added, emotional intelligence. So that's going to be new for this fall. And then we have our working through conflict and communication skills at work. So if you would like to take each class, it's $295 per class, or $1325 for the entire 5 classes, which of course you save $150 if you enroll the whole series. If you get a 10% discount if you are in groups of 3 or more, or if you enroll up to 2 weeks prior to the class starting. So for our spring, it would be March 26th.
Great. Thank you, Bridget, for reviewing those details. So we're going to pause. And are there any questions about supervisory skills? Or for Delisha or Bridget or me?
Use the Q&A box. I have it open here. Would love to see your questions.
Okay. Usually the question we get is, do I have to take series 1 before 2? And so I answered that one, no, you don't. They're half-day sessions, individual, so Bridget reviewed that. And we'll pause again for questions.
And one thing too, with each class, your materials, whether it's an assessment or parking, all of that is included in your tuition.
Yep, great, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, well, let's move on to management development, and then
We have one question. Hold
Oh,
on,
good.
Jen. Okay.
Great.
What days of the weeks are the classes and where is the location?
Oh, good. Okay, so the days of the week, Bridget, remind me, are they, no, I can't remember.
Thursdays.
Thursdays.
Yes.
Okay, Thursdays, and the location Bridget's going to talk about at the end. It's at One Capitol Mall, but we have a whole slide on the location, so we'll get to that. Anything else?
One more question. Is there a formal certificate issued after the completion of the, it says 10 courses, but I mean after each one, which would be each series?
Yes, there is. Yes, you get a formal certificate of completion after five classes. So after series 2, you'll get one, and then after series 1. Yeah, great questions. All right, I'm going to move on. If anything comes up, then we'll continue to answer at the end of management development.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on to talk about management development program. So this program, unlike the supervisory skills, is must be taken as a whole program. So all 3 classes are the program. You cannot take each of these as an individual course. So supervisory skills, you can pick and choose. Management development program, it is the entire program of these 3 courses. So I'm going to dive into what these 3 courses are. We start off with taught by Gabe Lewell, the manager's role. And this is really talking about kind of what is the role of the manager in today's organization. It's really evolved over the years as we have, more generations. And I talked a little bit about that coaching approach. So you can see understanding the manager's role in coaching. And then he also has a great section on key performance indicators. A lot of organizations aren't there yet. KPIs. What are you doing to really manage performance, and how are you holding others accountable, and what does that look like in your organization? So he has a good section on that, and I think a lot of people find value in that. So that's the first day of the course. It starts on May 6th. And then we get into communicating for results, taught by Kim Silvers. Kim is an HR business owner. She owns her own HR strategy company. And so she really dives deeper into performance. So you get this kind of overview of key performance indicators with Gabe. And then really this class is how do you communicate feedback? How do you address performance issues? It's all around communications obviously for results. So people often find she has a great feedback model that I get so many comments about how valuable it is that she walks through that is really practical. Now this class also includes the DISC assessment. So I'm going to spend a few minutes walking through the DISC and what that is. And as I'm walking through, I want you to think about, because we're going to do a poll at the end, so you got to pay attention. At the end of me walking through what each of the DISC stands for, think about which style appeals to you. And then Bridget's going to launch a poll at the end, and we're going to see who's on the call with us. So if you haven't taken the DISC, that's part of this. It's an assessment, and you can see here it is, and we're going to walk through it. So the D stands for dominance. And this is really a style of bottom line, get to the point, let's talk about it, very confident. You can see, sees the big picture, can be blunt, gets straight to the point, accepts challenges, maybe very quick. I'm snapping my fingers, just kind of like, go, go, go. This person is really about results, getting things done, very direct. That's the dominant style. So that's D. The influence is the person that is more open about relationships and wants to influence people. They are enthusiastic, they're optimistic, like to collaborate, doesn't like to be ignored, wants to be part of things. So they're kind of more around the people versus the task. The D is a little more task. The S is also about the people, but a little bit more on the maybe low-key side. So emphasis on cooperation, a little steadier, more calm, doesn't like to be rushed, very dependable, exudes humility. So that's the steadiness, kind of someone you just can kind of count on. They're just kind of there, wanting to be, you know, cooperative and focused on people. And then finally is the C. This is also a little bit more on the task side like the D, except for they're really focused on quality and accuracy. So objective, wants the facts, enjoys independence. So maybe not as much on that people side. They want, you know, just to kind of get their work done. They don't like to be wrong. Very competent experts. That's the C, conscientiousness. So we're going to do sort of a fun, so I walked through those, but now we're going to do sort of a fun thing before we launch the poll and talk about the DISC styles on this webinar to give you an idea. So if you're a D, this might be you on the webinar. Give me the facts. I want to know the cost, the time. I got a meeting. I hope this ends on time or early. It's already 11:30. They said till 12. It better be over. Let's go, let's go, let's go. That's the D. That might be you. If you're the I, you may be saying, how am I going to interact with others in the organization? Am I going to get networking opportunities? Who am I going to meet? I'm glad this is in person. And they may not even be on the information session today. So there may not be many I's because they're like the in-person interaction people. The S. The S is, let me know how much I'm going to learn. How much am I going to learn? How's this going to impact my life? I love the poll activities. They want to just really feel more the impact. And then the C, you want to know the information on the quality. So I mentioned the quality of the instructors. You may have noticed a typo already in the presentation, and you're thinking, I hope that's not the quality of the program. So that might be you if you're a C. So just kind of a fun, little stereotypical way to see who's on the webinar. So now Bridget's going to launch the poll and let us know what you think, just based on that, which style you might be.
A lot of dominance.
Okay.
Steadiness.
Good. I'll get to the point, you guys. I'll get to the point. I'm trying to move quick.
Any eyes? Anyone?
I know. See, Bridget's probably an I think.
Of course.
Yeah, Bridget's an I.
Okay, I'll go ahead and end this and share the results.
Okay, great. So some D's, some S, yeah, no I's as predicted. So that's just a fun way. Thank you, Bridget, for having the poll. So yeah, that's one of the assessments. And so you get a primary style and then a secondary style for the assessment. That's how that comes out. So then the last class in the management development program is the manager as team leader, taught by Diane Davidson. Now, what you might see is, so we talked about in supervisory skills, there was the developing your team, I think was the title, also taught by Diane Davidson. And in this class, she also does use the learning styles that I mentioned, assessment. But what's great about this class is she ties it to the DISC. So her and Kim have worked together to understand each of the assessments and make sure there's connection between the two assessments. So this is a different course than the half-day version in supervisory skills. It's a much deeper dive into it. And then she gives you a model to work through in developing your team as a framework. Again, utilizing this assessment, but tying it to the DISC. So that's how the management development program ends with Diane. Those are the three Wednesdays. These ones are Wednesdays in May. So Bridget is going to review a little bit of the information here, the details.
Yeah, so our full management development program, again, is a 3 full days, starting May 6th, running through May 20th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., which included in your tuition is morning refreshments and lunch. That's always one of my highlights for a new program. So it's the 3 classes: manager's role, communicating for results, and the manager as a team leader. The total cost is $19.50 for the program. Again, you can get a 10% discount if there's 3 or more to your group, or if you enroll by April 22nd. And
Great.
all parking and all that is included in the tuition as well.
Yes, and that just reminded me, Bridget, when you mentioned your favorite part about refreshments and lunch, that I know that we love the snacks around here. Bridget, yes, in supervisory skills, the morning session has refreshments and coffee, right? And then the afternoon has, I think, like cookies or brownies and coffee. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, great. So just wanted to, I think we forgot to talk about the snacks.
One of my highlights. Sorry, everyone, for not mentioning that.
I know, that's like your favorite part.
Yeah.
We need to add that in next time. Okay, I think we're ready to pause for questions. Oh no, we were going to talk about the emotional intelligence, but why don't we pause if there's any questions now for management development?
Well, we did have a little kind of like a chat thing. If somebody was falling in between two categories, what you just mentioned in the disc, is there any application to that?
Oh yeah, so that's a great question. So what's really cool about the disc is that you get kind of these quadrants of where you fall once you take the assessment, and oftentimes people are split between two. So I myself am split between two, and then you'll see. So you have you might be evenly split between the two, or you might have like a dominant style and a less dominant style, or it may be maybe even sometimes all four. You have a little bit of all four. So it's really varies person to person. So yeah, once you get through the assessment, and then that's what she kind of walks through. What does that all mean? That's a great question.
So no questions?
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So we'll pause one more time for questions, but I just wanted to briefly talk about the class that Dawn Carner is going to teach in August, leading through emotional intelligence and coaching. So she is the one that teaches in supervisory skills, the half-day coaching class at the end of supervisory skills. And then she teaches the new, Bridget highlighted the new emotional intelligence class. She is teaching in the fall. So this class is really a 3-day deep dive into it, where you get an assessment, an emotional intelligence assessment through an organization called 6 Seconds. And it's really a 3-day, so you start with the emotional intelligence and the model, and you really walk deeply into it. And then how do you now use that in a coaching approach as a leader? So you can see the dates there for those and the cost. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that because there's 2 information sessions where we're going to talk about that. One in May and one in July, and those are available now, right, Bridget, to register? Great. Okay. Before we get to final questions, I think we have one more poll that Bridget's going to launch. Now that you have learned more about our leadership programs, which would be best for you, do you think? And what I'll say is, so we have supervisory, management development, or unsure. I didn't include the executive or emotional intelligence deep dive, so you can select unsure if you think one of those. And what I'll say is, if you are unsure, Bridget or I are available to talk it through with you. That's what we do. So what are we seeing?
A little bit of all. So great. I will share those results.
Oh, a little bit of everything. Okay, great. So for those of you who did mark unsure, really, and we're going to put at the very end, we're going to put our contact information up again. So please jot that down and we can talk through that with you. So final time for any questions. And I'm going to put actually our slide. Oh, no, sorry. I forgot. We're going to talk about that, but I was so let's see. Any questions?
Not seeing any. One person had asked, can the management, I think the management development program course be spread across 3 different people in one company as one cost? I think it would be individual, right? It would be individual.
Right. No, it's an individual that needs to attend all 3 sessions. Right. So you can't send 3 different people. No. Yeah. Okay. Got that.
And one question is, the information for the training classes going to be posted somewhere so I can go over with my supervisor?
Yes. Oh, great question. Yeah. And so this session is recorded, and Bridget is going to send out the link to the session. And then I think in that message, Bridget, do you include a link to the website where all the information is?
And
okay, great.
Enrollment page. Yeah.
Perfect.
And of course, if you were to go to our website, the information is there as well. But I will send a link to our website and to the enrollment landing page.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let me see. There's how and when do we need to register by?
Great question. So you can register online, and Bridget will send all that information after. So she'll send an email with the recorded link to this and the enrollment information. You can call our student services, you can enroll online. And the enrollment date for these, let's see, Bridget, I think it's up to the day, really.
Right.
But you get the discount if it's 2 weeks.
Yes, that's correct. The 10% if it's 2 weeks. But yeah, you can enroll up to the day before.
Yeah.
Another question was the $13.25 cost for supervisory skills for one segment of 5 half-day classes or the whole 10 sessions?
For the 5.
Hey, any other questions? Good
I'm
question.
so glad this group
Yeah.
is so engaged with the questions. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Bridget, I think you're going to talk about our awesome new location.
Our new location. So currently we are at One Capitol Mall for all of our in-person classes. It's right there next to Old Sacramento. If you're familiar with it, there's a beautiful picture of it on the screen. We've gotten lots of great feedback on the classrooms, the sizes, just it being convenient to, you know, as far as getting there, kind of in the midtown part. So it's just, it's a great place. We've got a lot of good feedback. So hopefully you will be able to see our new location if you enroll in one of our courses.
Yeah, and Bridget is so fantastic at sending out all the details once you enroll, or right before the class. You'll get all the parking information, all the directions. There's like a parking map, and as she said, parking's included. So Bridget does a really great job of giving you kind of all that information. So I'm popping up our contact information. If any other questions come in before we wrap up.
No questions.
Okay. So for those of you who in the poll question selected unsure, take down our info and give us a ring or an email, and we'd be happy to talk through anything with you. And then Bridget, like I said, is going to be sending you out an email within the next few days. Once she gets the recorded version from our marketing team, she sends out a link so that you can view it or share it with a friend. And she will then give you all the information about that as well. Any final questions come in before I wrap us up?
There is one. Is the supervisory class the same as offered on LMS? Would that be the learning management,
Learning management system?
Yeah.
No, this is an in-person, it's not online, it's all in-person courses. So I'm not sure exactly what you might be referencing, but I think it's different. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm just going to end with another one of my favorite leadership authors and speakers, Brene Brown. We desperately need more leaders who are committed to courageous, wholehearted leadership and who are self-aware enough to lead from their hearts rather than unevolved leaders who lead from hurt and fear. And so I kind of want to echo what Delisha said. The fact that you're on today and that you're here tells me that you're committed to courageous, wholehearted leadership and that you're a step ahead of many leaders. And this is really our passion, is developing leaders. And so I just encourage you to enroll in one of our programs. And if you didn't get your questions answered, please do contact Bridget or myself. And thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Delisha. And for being on here, and thank you for everybody who attended. We encourage you to just enroll in one of our great leadership development programs. And with that, thank you and enjoy the sunshine.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.